Welcome to another episode of the IBSC Learning Series. Today we're going to discuss how to upload CEs to your IBSC account. Let's get started. As always, you'll need to log into your IBSC account. Hit the big orange button and enter your credentials. Once you're logged in, head over to the right-hand side and select the icon that says My Continuing Education. On this page, you will see that continuing education is broken down into three categories: clinical, approved review course, and operational. All of these categories are separated and highlighted in blue. Under these three categories, you will see Summary of Continuing Education reported, which shows the total amount of CEs entered for each category. Please make sure that you're adding your CEs to the correct category. In this example, I'm going to add new clinical CE. I simply click on the button, add your program name, who it's accredited by, the month and date of your completion. If this was a multi-day class, put the last day, and then how many contact hours. In this case, we'll say 16. Hit the save button, and it will bring you back to your main screen. As you can see, we have one more step to do, and that is actually add the documentation of our completed CE. In this case, I'm going to click on the arrow, and I'm going to upload a document. Choose File. I'll add my clinical CE hours. And you can now see that this has turned into an I versus an arrow. We've completed this particular section here. It must be noted that supporting documentation for each C is a required item. Continue these steps for each category, whether it's clinical, your approved review course, or operational. Another thing to remember is you can add continuing education to your IBSC account at any time. If you're submitting your recertification, you cannot submit your application until you're within 4 months of your certification expiration date. Please note, if you wait to submit your recertification application within the same month that certification expires, late fees are going to apply, so get it done early. Okay, now that we've got the basics down, let's talk about some frequently asked questions that apply to continuing education. First one is, what is the difference between clinical and operational CE? Well, clinical education is content that must be primarily focused on the knowledge that the paramedic can apply in providing direct care to a patient. Examples could be, but are not limited to, flight physiology, management of the trauma patient, and toxicology. While on the operational side, this is educational content related to paramedicine in the overall emergency medical services system. So some examples for that might be developing a quality improvement system or legal aspects of flight care, public relations in the pre-hospital environment. FAQ number 2, how are CE categories described? Well, clinical is education content that must be primarily focused on the knowledge the paramedic can apply in providing direct care to a patient, almost like what we talked about before. And please note, this is required. Approved review courses, this is a required item as well, and it needs to be at least 16 hours. Many courses are more than 16, but they will have to ask the contact person for their actual course listing. This list can be found under the Recertification tab and in the drop-down menu. Click on Approved Review Courses. And finally, operational. This is education content related to paramedicine and again, the overall emergency medical services system. This is not a required item. FAQ number 3 is my approved review course CE is more than the 16 hours. Well, how do I enter that? Well, you'll enter all approved review course CEs in the approved review course category with the supporting documents or certificate, just like we talked about before. If your approved review course is more than 16 hours, the good news is this, is the system knows to count 16 of those hours towards your approved review course category, and the rest will automatically be counted towards your clinical category. Pretty cool. And finally, can I use the same CEs for both my FPC and my CCP-C recertification? Absolutely you can. As long as those CEs were within the 4-year recertification period, you can use those hours for both. But please note, and this is something that people tend to forget, you still need to complete separate recertification applications for each certificate. If you have any more questions, visit us at ibscertifications.org, and we'll see you on the next Learning Series video.